Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. Thank you very much for joining me here on the channel. Today is Tuesday, which tends to be a grab bag now that I've changed it all around. Sorry about that. Today is Crunch Time Tuesday. We've had Discord Tuesday, which is a terrible name. There's been TV and movies to RPG Tuesdays, whatever. Anyway, Tuesdays are grab bag, but we are still keeping to our theme, and our theme are unicorns. Yes. Now, today, it being Crunch Time Tuesday, we're going to talk about some mechanics. You're all DM hanging out. Thanks, dude. I think, and Cam and everyone. By the way, for all of you out there, this show does broadcast live on 3 platforms. So if you are a Twitch affiliate, a YouTubian, or you are a hardcore Discordian, this show broadcasts on all 3 networks, and you can, of course, join live, and maybe, just maybe, your comment will be the highlight of our show. All right, so Tuesdays, especially Crunch Time Tuesday, we tend to talk about mechanics, either adding some mechanics into the game, maybe some overlooked mechanics in like Dungeons and Dragons and other gaming effects, or maybe something that has been sitting on the edge of your mind and you can't quite remember it, or even taking mechanical bits, which I think is what we're going to do today, and breaking them apart. Like, hey, instead of us just looking at them as numbers, looking at the numbers and translating that into the narrative, or vice versa, taking the narrative and figuring out what does that mean as far as the numbers go. So because we're talking about unicorns, and by the way, yesterday we did talk about different types of unicorns and whatnot. Of course, you can apply them to the game in any way or shape that you want. We did talk about unicorns as omens, heralds of change. They are symbols of judgment, and symbols of authority, even, or even the essence of unobtainability, or the pinnacle of achieving something for good or bad, be it hunting a unicorn down to kill it, or even finding one in the first place. So, and we did even talk about the more ephemeral parts of the unicorn, like not really its combat effects and rolling for initiative or anything, but basically this idea that there's this creature out there that is the symbol of justice and freedom and wildness, and how even like today the unicorn is seen as a, what is it, in Scotland, it is used as the national animal or something. And I'm sure if you ask them, you're like, unicorns don't exist, and they probably respond with, how do you know they don't exist if you've never seen one? Right? But yeah, the unicorns do represent this like epitome of this wild, untamed, but ultimately good animal and whatnot. So I thought we would go the opposite on this Crunch Time Tuesday and talk about its mechanical effects, some of its abilities, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, and then go from there and kind of decipher, like, maybe there's a way through their stats a PC could find one, and we can start to remove some of its celestial nature and bring it down to earth, sort of. Okay, so the unicorn is a large celestial and is lawful good. And this is according to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. For some reason, I remember past versions of the unicorn being chaotic good, that it didn't follow a precept of rules, but was more or less a wild, untamed creature. But they're listing it as lawful good, and I'm presuming that the lawful part of that is not necessarily like following our uh, mundane earthly laws, but that there is a higher order and everything has its place. So I'm presuming that's where the lawful part comes from. And of course, it is good in nature. It would never go out of its way to cause any harm to anything as well. But the other difference here is it being a large celestial. And yesterday we talked about, like, it's not listed as a fey creature, although humans and humanity may even consider it to be a fey creature, um, just because it may be hanging around Fey Forest and the Fey Wild, as like an emissary or a harbinger of good things, or even heck, a messenger of evil things to come. So it could literally be an in-world misrepresentation of what the hell it is, right? Like, oh, it's a Fey creature. We all know it's a Fey creature, and come to realize that it is a celestial creature having, lots of friends in the Fey Wild and the Fey realm, and happens to be there. Like when the Fey creatures see the unicorn come around, the pixies and sprites are like, oh, we need to, you know, um, uh, you know, turn and get the hell out of here, because, or prepare for something maybe far more dangerous in the future. Now, Cameron says Pathfinder has unicorns down as chaotic good magical beasts and CR3 level monsters, whereas here we're talking challenge rating of 5 for 5th edition. So yeah, I mean, and mind you, while while taking a look at the stats and whatnot and kind of like figuring out their place, I think you could easily make the argument, despite what's written, the difference between lawful good and chaotic good. It's that big argument, like, is Batman lawful or chaotic? It's like, well, maybe it just is, right? Also, like when you start heading, which this kind of surprises me a little bit, it has an armor class of 12. And while I could see a regular horse, of course, having an armor class of 12, I just, for some reason, just mentally, I'm just thinking of them having a much higher armor class, because they seem to be partially spirit, like almost like, even if you see one, to me, they always feel like they are dreamlike in their presence. Like if you were to see one, it's not that they're physical, it's more like they are, it's almost as if you have been pulled into their spiritual realm. But okay, whatever. 67 hit points. You don't really feel like, yeah, I suppose if those goblinoid hordes want to kill one, pretty easy. Speed of 50. Um, I'm surprised about that as well, but okay. Speed of 50 sounds pretty good. Strength 18, Dex 14. I I'm picturing one just being a little bit higher, but okay. Constitution 15, Intelligence 11, which is pretty good. Wisdom of 17, exceptional. Charisma 16, and of course, a horse being very strong. Strength of 18 makes it seem as if they are imagining the unicorn being, or maybe this particular unicorn, isn't very massive. It's not like a Clydesdale. And with a wisdom of 17 is extremely instinctual, like sees everything. Like it's it's the the fly swat thing going on. Like a fly can sit somewhere and it feels like no matter how fast you are, the fly just lazily moves out the way when you try to swat it with something. It I'm thinking a unicorn is the same way, where, man, they're just like, yeah, I know you're there. I'm just not reacting to you because you bother, because you're just so far below me, right? Y'all DZM says Batman is lawful evil. Don't get me started on what a villain Batman is. Yeah, look, the argument of a Batman being a fascist villain, right? I've heard that argument too, and I can't I can't say I could win a debate on that one. But all right, so the the unicorn, of course, is a has a damage immunity to poison. Yeah, you're not going to poison one of these creatures, and conditional immunity of charmed, uh, paralyzed, and poisoned. So it cannot be charmed, paralyzed, or poisoned. Dark vision of 60 feet, passive perception of 13. That surprises me a little bit. Language is languages, of Celestial, Elvish, Sylvan, and telepathy of 60 feet. Not bad, and a challenge rating of 5, which I, I'm presuming the challenge rating of 5 means that player characters that are I know challenge rating doesn't directly correspond to character levels, but by the time you can find and or confront a unicorn, I'm thinking that the player characters themselves are at the level slash integrity that the unicorn would want to bond or communicate or quest give with them, right? Like if they're, like seventh level characters could easily track down, find, and confront a unicorn at that point. And so, like a seventh level paladin that can find one probably is going to end up either riding one or have that unicorn lead them on a quest. Or like yesterday, we talked about the lady in the lake idea, where the seeing the unicorn on the shores of of um, the pristine lake is where that PC ends up finding the magic items that the game master has set out for them, as opposed to looting dead bodies to find said magic items or whatnot, or a boon or what have you, or even that same unicorn leading them to other kinds of dangers or something. So it seems like the unicorn, of course, is pretty, and with an intelligence of 11, knows what it's doing and is pretty reasonably intelligent, but with a wisdom of 17, just instinctually is probably going to, even without its other abilities, you could pretend to want to befriend it, but it's going to know what your intentions are. Definitely know that. Now, Cameron gives me a the Pathfinder's version, Pathfinder Unicorn, strength of 18, dex of 17, which is higher, which kind of was where my mind was sitting. Constitution 16, a little bit higher. Intelligence 11, wisdom 21, and a charisma of 24. And that, I'm sure, represents with a charisma of 24, that is a presence that is literally divine, right? You're not even the most evil creatures confronting something with a charisma 24 might be in awe of its like beauty, and its mere presence could even be almost paralyzed in a way, seeing it. Here they've got it, fifth edition's ranks down. It has more of a bounded accuracy to it, so but it still gives it a charisma of 16. So I'm a bit surprised by that, without some other magical effects, which we're going to get into. So for many of a host of the unicorn's abilities, they of course have the ability to charge like a regular horse. If the unicorn moves at least 20 feet in a feet straight toward a target, and then hits it with a horn attack. On the same turn, the target takes an extra 9 or 2d8 piercing damage. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 15 strength saving throw or be knocked prone. Makes a lot of sense, right? Um, Especially if that unicorn could knock that person down in a place where it's problematic for that person to get up, and we're going to get into some of that, especially wherever its natural habitat is. And of course, it has innate spell casting with a spell save DC of 14. It uses charisma for its spell casting ability, and at will it can detect good and evil, has druid craft, and pass without trace. Now, of course, fifth edition's detect good and evil technically isn't good or evil. It's basically the detection of like aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, or undead. Um, so it is detect good and evil, and what's the other one? Protection from good and evil, or dispel good and evil, is basically um, finding those creatures that are from the realms where they are literally the avatars of that realm, right? Like fiends aren't just pretending to be, or they happen to be raised evil, right? They actually come from a realm where they are evil incarnate. They just happen to be the living embodiment of it. So that's what it is, as opposed to earlier editions where detect good and evil was like, I detect good or evil. Oh, I detect evil in the in the bar. I'm going to kill everybody here, right? That was the old lawful stupid thing, and I hated that. Your LDM says I always think of unicorns as lords of the deep glades, and that the health of a unicorn is reflective of the health of a forest. Yeah, they're definitely fey in my mind, not celestial. I'm this could be a meta thing where someone's like, we've got like 80 fey creatures and three celestial creatures. Let's throw it in there, right? Like this could be a meta change, or someone wanted to associate the unicorns beyond them being fey, but I definitely think of them being fey creatures. I'm with you on that one. they're Lloyd, yeah, heck yeah. And then once a day, which I'm surprised about this being once a day, but once a day they have calm emotions, dispel good, evil and good, and entangle. Now, of course, the calm emotions is a stand-in for the 16 charisma. So even like your most bestial monsters or something like that, um, it can use that to calm someone down. Like, for example, under calm emotions, each humanoid in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on the unicorn within range must make a charisma saving throw. Usually, most of the like horde like monsters have low charisma. A creature can choose to fail this saving throw if it wishes. If a creature fails its saving throw, choose one of the following two effects. You can suppress any effect causing a target to be charmed or frightened. Um, or alternatively, you can make a target indifferent about creatures of your choice that it is hostile toward. This indifference ends if the target is attacked or harmed by a spell. So this is, I believe, that's the spell where the bloodthirsty, we're going to hunt the unicorn down, and then someone's like, "Hey, did you find a unicorn?" And they go, "Yeah." And why didn't you kill it? And they're like, I don't know. I don't understand. I think that's its, very defensive ability. Like, yeah, you thought you were going to kill me, but instead you just wanted to pet my flank or sit down and drink from the golden river or something. And the unicorn walks away while you sit there and go back to whittling or playing a card game with your friends instead of like wanting to kill it or something. So, it's easily, yeah, it's easily the ignore what's going on over here ability, right? Cameron says the Pathfinder unicorn has a constant circle of protection against evil surrounding it at all times. Other than that, the classifications and the stats, the two unicorns are very similar. And that's just a matter of like, um, sometimes there's game design meta elements that are involved in a thing, like, or like me bringing up the fact where I was like, I think its dex would be higher, right? And over time they may not just duplicate the stats. They might, someone in the in the writing department's like, you know what, instead of giving it like a 24 charisma, why don't we just add these other things in? So thanks, Cam. Jarl DM says an elvish lady appears through the mists, mounted upon a glorious unicorn, flowers growing in its footsteps. That's a unicorn. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. I, I'm with you on the Fae thing because that was my first impression. Like, isn't it Fae, Sylvan type of creature? I don't really see it celestial, but I I get where they were trying to go with it. I think maybe they could have added a little bit more, um, a little bit of a celestial background to it, narratively, but I don't think they did. Um, the RLDM says, goes on to say, cool one shot idea. A rich lord wants the players to hunt the beast in the woods. Players discover that it's a noble unicorn. Will they kill this obviously goodly creature for the cash? Does set up a problem, especially if that same unicorn is, if they go to, the one shot could be, hey, let's go hunt down the unicorn, and then come to find out like, maybe hunters got there before them, or it's like a competition to get the unicorn. PCs find a unicorn, they go, you know what, we're not going to kill it, but then there's these other people, like maybe the king, the noble wants it captured as a dowry, right, brought back and and caged up or slain or something. And the PCs are like, okay, do we fight all these other groups of people that are trying to kill it? Maybe we should be the ones first, or convince the unicorn to pretend like please trust us because these other people are going to come hunting after you. You got to make a run for it or something. Like I could imagine something like that. Yeah, a one shot where the players set up the problem without actually giving them a solution to it. I love the moral quandary idea of like a unicorn one shot, and I thought of the same thing with a Pegasus, but yeah, I think it's the same idea, right? Um, the This other spell, this once a day entangle, to me is that like, hey, charge the opponent, knock them prone, or even push them back into an entangle uh, area in an area of entanglement and get the hell out of there if it wants to defend itself. So I could see that as well. Of course, the other abilities. Here we go. Very quickly, the unicorn has magic resistance. The unicorn has advantage on all saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Pretty potent right there. Magic weapons. The unicorn's weapon attacks are all magical. Makes perfect sense, especially if one were to remove a unicorn's horn, or a unicorn is on its deathbed and its calves, maybe the PCs find a unicorn and it leads it to an elderly unicorn for it to pass away, but the unicorn's horn remains and it becomes like a magic item. I could imagine something like that. So anyway, for its actions, the unicorn makes two attacks, one with its hooves and one with its horn. So of course it's got a hoof attack that's a bludgeoning damage. It's got a horn attack, piercing damage. It also has 3 times a day a healing touch. The unicorn touches another creature with its horn. The target magically regains 11 or 2d8 plus 2 hit points. In addition, the touch removes all diseases and neutralizes all poisons afflicting the target, which I am sure that's where the idea of either removing the horn and having it retain its magical abilities, or powdering the horn down like you would use like powdered ivory or something for a similar effect, or maybe some alchemical concoction or something. And lastly, once a day, not lastly, but uh, of its of its actions, it can teleport once a day. The unicorn magically teleports itself and up to 3 willing creatures it can see within 5 feet of it, along with any equipment they are wearing or carrying, to a location the unicorn is familiar with, up to 1 mile away. This, of course, is extremely defensive. Hey, it's surrounded. It and its allies, its Fey Sylvan allies, teleports away. This could also be an attack of sorts. If the unicorn is in a region that it's familiar with, it could very easily take adversarial creatures, teleport a mile away to a location that's dangerous for them, like a raging river or a cliffside or a muddy ravine or something like that, drop them there and then like gallop the hell out the way while everyone slips down the muddy ravine down into the rocky rapids down below or something like that. Now, mind you, they could have. It doesn't say that you can teleport them into danger, but it, you know, getting your ass kicked by a cloven hooved unicorn down a muddy hill probably is a pretty good tactic if it wants to uh, use that once a day teleport. But I would save it to defend myself if I was it. And then it has legendary actions. The unicorn can take 3 legendary actions, choosing from the options below. Only one legendary action option can be used at a time, and only one at the end of another creature's turn. Of course, the unicorn regains spent legendary actions at the start of its turn. So uh, it can. It has hooves. The unicorn makes 1 attack with its hooves. It can. The other choice is a shimmering shield, which costs 2 actions. The unicorn creates a shimmering magical field around itself or another creature it can see within 60 feet. The target gains a +2 bonus to AC until the end of the unicorn's next turn. And that ability is where I think the armor class of itself and its dexterity, where it modifies itself. So, like if you're riding on it, it can protect its rider. If it's protecting itself, it's a little, maybe weapons are cast aside, or maybe it looks like a shimmering effect, as if it's like cast in stark contrast to everything around it. And then lastly, heal self. The unicorn magically regains 11 or 2d8 plus 2 hit points. So it basically has a regenerative ability. So those are some of his capabilities. And um, uh, oh, sorry, in the chat, Cameron says, I really enjoy the Harry Potter lore for unicorns. So when I out one in a game, killing one, eating one, dismembering one, and or drinking one's blood will inflict some serious curses. They don't mention that in the stats, which I'm a little bit surprised about. But hell yeah, like there should be some. I get the idea of the legend of taking the unicorn's horn and getting the magic from it is a thing, but I feel like that's something that would be is a willing process by the unicorn, right? The young unicorn brings the hero to the dying elderly unicorn, and that elderly unicorn lowers its head, and then its body disappears in a pile of like um, autumn leaves or something, and left behind is the unicorn's horn. Like I could imagine that, but like killing a unicorn, taking its horn, and going, "Ha ha! I've got unicorn powers." Yeah, no. Like the a feast of a unicorn is probably pretty nasty as far as like you being cursed. Like I can't imagine. I'm imagining like if you were to even do something like that, that you would stand out like a road flare um to other goodly creatures, you know. Oh, thanks, Cam. Yeah, it's like thanks for that visual. It was so cool when you said that autumn leaves. Yeah, I'm a visual person. You guys know that. I'm just picturing this idea of like the I would I would assume that a unicorn that passes away through age would become one with its region, like autumn leaves, or even becoming a like as its body fades away, a new clear pristine brook just appears right in its location, and this bubbling golden fluid just pours out of the ground, and that's where these new rivers show up. And all of a sudden, or like even the unicorn passes away but looks like as um the Jarl DM mentioned, like maybe it just becomes this horse shaped copes of like flowers, like purples and golds and greens and yellows and flowers. And if you like a topiary, but it's still alive or something, like I'm just picturing it like that. Yeah. Cam, you also said, real, oh, Jarl DM, I'm sorry, says, it could be helpful, negotiate with it, and it will transport you across the deadly wood or the hateful swamp, etc. Yeah, especially if it itself is defending a region and you come upon the unicorn, and of course the unicorn has these various languages. Now it doesn't say that it can't speak, but I think it's more mysterious if the unicorn does not speak at all, that it just uses body language, or maybe using its hooves and claws marks in the ground, or uses its horn to mark a tree, or draw a little childish looking map or something, but that it completely understands everything that the people that are near it says, right? Because it does have telepathy. So the I'm thinking maybe even a telepathic connection is more visual, more dreamlike, rather than "Hi, I'm a unicorn. How are you doing?" Right? Not that you can't do it that way, but narratively, I like the idea of like being embraced by a warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa, and there's like the soft patter of rain outside, sitting on a deck or something. Like I just imagining it like that. Like you're just embraced by this warmth that you're overcome by it. Um, Jarl DM says, I never considered that it can teleport allies. Could lead to to devastating tactics where the unicorn and three high-level elf warriors can appear anywhere to harry those who cause problems in the forest. See, I love that tactic, right? Like, the unicorn's getting hunted down, and they're like, hey, we've almost got it cornered or something. And then all of a sudden, like, zoop, the unicorn, like, teleports in. They're like, three extra like 15th level archer elves that are like, hey, somebody bothering you? Hey, you got any problem with these guys? We takes care of it, right? Like, I could really imagine that. Or hell, maybe the unicorn now has allies like that bestial orc barbarian that wanted to go kill it has changed its has never returned back to the fold. And they're like, the unicorn killed our orc chieftain, and come to find out the orc chieftain's like living in the Fey Woods with the unicorn. And the orc chieftain's like, listen, anybody bother you, you come to me. And all of a sudden the PCs are like, ooh, I didn't think about that. And heck, who's to say they have to be like, you could literally go through a laundry list of like Fey creatures. Fifth edition makes it a celestial. Maybe it summons one of those solar or planar, or maybe you don't want to go that devastating. Maybe you could even have some other really weird, strange creatures, like, oh, the unicorn arrives with two owlbears and a manticore. I don't know, maybe manticore is the wrong one. Blink dogs, or what are some other goodly creatures? The goodly flying snake with wings, the coatl, I think, is how you pronounce it. I can't remember, but but you know what I'm saying. Um, Yeah, coatls. Yep. Oh, hells yes. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. And like Cameron says, the telepathy could be sensory experiences, like sharing the memory of the unicorn traveling to a castle the PCs are trying to find. Um, it could even be an image of what the unicorn sees the PCs doing, like to chastise the PCs to play on their guilt. It's like, yeah, we saw you beat smacking that goblin around. You shouldn't have been doing that. And the unicorn's been spying on them, and they're like, "Ooh, shoot, feeling guilty now," right? But yeah, but I like the idea of the coatls, man. Just the flying snakes show up, and it's like, "Ooh, shit, maybe we shouldn't have done this." Also, between the calm emotion ability and the healing touch ability, especially like removing like uh, fearful effects, charm effects, removing like diseases and poisons and things. Not every creature is a backstabby type of thing, but especially your more lawful evil type creatures might be more willing to, like, you know what, you did this, you did a good thing for me. All right, out of respect, I'm gonna let you go right now. But if we meet each other again, so there is quite a bit of that as well. I think um, defensive wise for the unicorn, like it could parlay its own abilities. Like, you know what, you let me go, I'll heal you, and you're like, okay. Or heck, the unicorn tricks a person to get into a place that where they become poisoned or diseased in the first place, and then like now the person needs the unicorn's help to get out of it. Like, I don't know, yellow musk creepers are in the dark wood, and the unicorn sitting back not doing anything. You're like, choking in the pollen that's going down your throat, like, no. And then the unicorn casually walks over to you and like, ding, taps you on the forehead, and you're like, ooh, thank you so much, I love you. Right. So but here's some of the really cool things I think, and you brought this up yesterday there, your all DM. A unicorn's lair. A unicorn's lair might be an ancient ruin overgrown with vines, a misty clearing surrounded by mighty oaks, a flower-covered hilltop alive with butterflies, or some other serene woodland location. Regional effects. Transformed by the creature's celestial presence, the domain of a unicorn might include any of the following magical effects. Sorry, before I read that, also, if a unicorn is in your region, and you are allied with it, hells yes, you're going to want to protect it above and beyond any of its special abilities, right? Because, you know, if you're I don't know, let's say you are a band of knights and you're going out into you patrol the woodlands or something like that. Hells yes, you want to keep that unicorn alive. Even if you can't find it or capture it, if you're defending its land and the unicorn just happens to come upon you when you've been half your number have been like trounced by the enemy, and the unicorn comes around and heals you, you're like, yeah, that's thanks for that, yo, you and me, right? You know what I mean? We're in this together, all right? So, Unicorn, thanks for stopping by. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Maybe you drop off bring in some food that it would like to eat, whatever, and get out of there. So, I think a lot of goodly creatures, just for GP, would protect a unicorn's region for no other reason than just them just being allies. Um, so, yeah. Anyway, regional effects. Sorry. um, well, first, there's our four of them. Open flames of a non-magical nature are extinguished within the unicorn's domain. Torches and campfires refuse to burn, but closed lanterns are unaffected. Now, this was brought up. This was brought up the other day about how open flames are extinguished, and not only is that a clue that a unicorn is nearby, but it also lends itself that, if you're a camper, let's say you're just an average individual, you have no idea unicorns are around, although the weather around here is pretty nice and there's a lot of butterflies or something, and you go to start a campfire and you can't, that might be an indication. It also means that it's a possibility you may need to start a campfire and you're unable to. And that brings with it a pretty interesting story element, right? Because if it's wintertime, or heck, who knows, maybe winter never hits this region, but if it's wintertime and you're freezing to death and you can't start a fire, maybe the unicorn, story wise, the unicorn knows you need to start a fire, and it either leads you to a place of safety where you can get warmth, or leads other individuals who can protect you to keep you warm. But it's like, no, don't be starting fires around here. Now, I'm presuming that ability it could probably turn it on or off, but it doesn't say that it can. So, uh, you know, forest fire. Maybe there's a region where the forest doesn't never burns down, and that would be interesting to have a conflict with druids. I wonder if you could have a conflict with goodly people where there's a druids circle that does like harvesting, or a clerics that are like part of a harvest where they, you burn, slash and burn, and there's a region that can't be slashed or burned, but the people are becoming more industrialized and they need more food to feed everyone. And the unicorn's like, you ain't burning down my forest. Hells no. So yeah, but it does say closed lanterns are unaffected. So it gives the implication that a well tended fire, like a lantern, is protected. So it's not loose, but an open flame. Nope. Which, now it says non magical. So would a cantrip that can produce a flame, is the producing of the flame in the palm of your hand magical, but it can't light something? Or could you claim that producing the flame in the first place creates a non magical flame that the caster is now using, right? I, I'm not describing that correctly. Anyway, to move on, the unicorn says other regional effect. Creatures native to the unicorn's domain have an easier time hiding. They have advantage on all dexterity stealth checks made to hide. Damn. Creatures native to the unicorn's domain have easier. That means every creature in its domain is like the ultimate hunter. So they have dexterity on advantage on all dexterity checks to hide, which means that if you know how in fifth edition advantage and disadvantage cancel each other out. So if something gives them disadvantage on stealth, this ability to have an advantage on stealth cancels that out. So they are still stealthy, even if you have something like bright light or some sensory spell or racial ability that gives you advantage or gives them disadvantage on their stealth dexterity stealth checks, which is that's pretty powerful, really. Especially if they're just like spying on you or like tracking you or following you. Pretty powerful. Because native creatures, that's a lot of creatures. That could be one or it could be 50, who knows. When a good aligned creature casts a spell or uses a magical effect that causes another good aligned creature to regain hit points, the target regains the maximum number of hit points possible for the spell or effect. Damn. Ooh. When good creatures heal themselves or when good creatures use healing magics on other good creatures, themselves or others, man, they're unstoppable. Yeah. That paladin's order, living near or heck right on the border of like a unicorn's region, heck yeah. Heck yeah. And lastly, curses affecting any good aligned creature are suppressed. So there's some traits that lead us to that will lead us to where the unicorn might be. The bonus of having maximizing your healing, the the native creatures hiding in the woods and not being found. I'm liking all that, and I think you can really make some stories out of even the mechanical effects of the unicorn. Like, for example, imagine the player characters find like a baby unicorn, um, or a baby unicorn finds them, and the baby unicorn has a limited number of the adult unicorn's capabilities. Like, if you have the baby unicorn in your wagon or tucked in your cloak or something, that maybe the regional effects are only like 20 feet around you, right? As opposed to like covering a few dozen miles or something, or, covering the mountain valley or what have you. The ability for like the little baby unicorn to teleport whatever might be problematic, and maybe the PCs are like, we need to get this baby unicorn back to its mommy because it might think we want to hurt it. um, Also, I'm imagining some of its capabilities. Why wouldn't a cult or religion grow around the possibility of a unicorn? Much like today, we have people who are trying to find Bigfoot, right? Sasquatch. Why wouldn't there be people dedicated to that? Either oddly or fanatically obsessed with trying to find a unicorn, just traveling around in scraps of clothing, like, I'm still going to find it. I'm this close to finding a unicorn. And they just keep wandering around. There could be a fake. Well, this could go in two different ways. There could be a fake cultist that's like, oh, it's because of my presence that your ability to heal and all these natural creatures live in this region. Of course, I'm a goodly person. You should follow me because it's my power. Oh, they could absolutely be a liar, which at some point the unicorn's probably going to put its horn right up that liar's ass at some point, or get an ally to do beat same individual's ass, right? But that's a possibility. The opposite way could be. Um, Yeah, Rickard's like, yep, here for the magic, 15 minutes. Yeah, for those who don't know on this channel, it's a good idea for you to skip the first 45 minutes of the show. Just saying. Another story idea could be there is a goodly person who has no abilities. They're not a cleric. They are a commoner, a zero level commoner who is a good person, who is bringing other followers to the unicorn's domain for protection, not knowing that the unicorn even exists here, but understanding that this place is one of purity and justice and law and protection and security, and maybe they're leading other individuals from like a dictatorial regime into this wild untamed region, and through their prayers are answered, sometimes knowingly or unknowingly, that the unicorn comes around, and maybe this person or this I'm calling it cult, but I don't mean that in a let's sacrifice babies cult, but more like these people are like, please, somebody out there, please save us and our people because they're being harmed. And the people might assume the unicorn is an agent of a greater deity, and the unicorn's like, no, I just like you guys because you guys are cool with me, and I'm cool with you. And they're like, okay. And heck, even maybe even some of the warriors from these people who've left the regime are literally leaving their children with the unicorn because that's the safest place to leave them. Like, all right, kids, we adults have got to go, and there's only a few of us, and we got to free some more of our people. I hate to leave you here, but yeah. Or I could see the unicorn's healing ability narratively being like a nursemaid or a midwife, that childbirth is very easy on someone giving birth to a child, as long as the unicorn, I'm imagining, maybe this is a terrible image, but I'm imagining um, a knight has left his order because he's been given these terrible instructions with his betrothed. She's pregnant. She's having a hard time. Unicorn comes out of the woods, lays down. The unicorn kind of acts like a pillow around the woman, and she gives birth to the child. And now the child is a Asimar, or a is birthed as a sorcerer or something like that. Like, why do you have all these abilities or something? And then maybe the character comes out as first level character is a sorcerer or warlock for this unicorn. Is like, well, the unicorn was there when I was born, dude. Like, that's why I'm like this, right? Pretty interesting stories I think you could pull from it, as well as maybe people get lost in these woods where the unicorn is at, and the unicorn is like, who are all these people hanging around? Maybe escaped criminals or the PCs. Maybe the PCs are doing an evil campaign, and they stumble into the unicorn's domain, and now the evil PCs there. And when I say evil, they're like liars, thieves, not maybe a couple of backstabbers, but not necessarily murderers. And then the unicorn is there, and then the evil PCs are like, ooh, what do we do now? Like, the unicorn helped us out. Or maybe even the unicorn is like, you know what? I bet I could turn you guys. So if for no other reason, I'm going to lead you out of my realm, right? Here's the door. Get the hell out. And then the evil people that are hunting the only slightly evil PCs are like, where'd they go? Um, Rickard says, pro tip for all the cultists out there trying to hunt a unicorn: lay an ambush as Candy Mountain. Like, hey, did you bring the extra butterflies? I've got candy. So it's like, maybe there's like, could you imagine some evil people are like taking that literally? They're like, okay, I've got a sack of babies. What do you have? You're like, I've got white silk. Doesn't that work? They're like, hey, I've got a sack of dead butterflies. Maybe that works too. And they dump everything on the ground and lay it out and hope that the unicorn comes and finds it. But they're like, it's like the idiotic version of the same thing. Um, yeah. Cam says, born at first level. The funnel must have been been a dungeon in heaven. DCC, yeah, you were given birth at first level. I did word it didn't that way, didn't I? I came out fully formed with a shield and a sword. Turn the first level character over, smack him on the booty. Sorry, I That's me. That's not a that's not a Foley sound effect. um, for those of you not internet old enough, Charlie the Unicorn. Let's go to Candy Mountain, Charlie. I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. First level barbarian baby, more hit points than the parents. Barbarian baby, I'm so mad. I'm just mad, stomping around. But I think if you wanted to make the unicorns um, far less of a mythological thing and just bring them more down to earth, like just using the stat blocks and whatnot. Um, you could, if you wanted to, you could have like, how do you say this? Um, Divergent unicorns, younger unicorns, older unicorns by like maximizing their hit points, increasing their speed, giving them, 1d for additional magical abilities, like I was talking about, like being dreamlike or like turning ethereal, or having its teleportation ability useful at a far distant range, or what is it, misty stepping, or turning invisible or something like that. Like, yeah. Yeah, Cam, I'm with you there too. He's like, I'm totally picturing a newborn in a helmet holding a spear. uh, Oh, Grable puts it like, It'll be an adventure. We're going on an adventure, Charlie." I don't know. I don't know. Now the other thing is, yes, I know in fifth edition they're listed as lawful good, but I like the chaotic good nature of a unicorn, which could be a one off, right? Like maybe in general they're lawful, but you always have the ones. Dead Man puts in the video too in the Discord of Charlie the Unicorn. Yeah, this idea that, like, sure, they have different alignments. Why not? Maybe they have just as many personalities as human beings. So the one unicorn wants to leave the herd. Um, I don't know, what is a Leo pleurodon. What CR is a giant Leo pleurodon? Is that a giant? Is that a prehistoric horse-like thing? I don't know. Um, Also, depending on the region, right? Like we're picturing, like, you know woodlands, right? The unicorns and fey woods and all that kind of business. But um, as was mentioned before, there's, even in the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, uh, there's upwards of 15 different types of unicorns based on their location, like aquatic or mountainous or desert region or whatnot. I suppose you could even layer on the unicorn's abilities, same horn and everything, onto other non equine creatures in another region, because you want to use that type of unicornic mythology somewhere else. An example being like, uh, oh, the camera's like, it's from Charlie the Unicorn. Sorry, it's an aquatic dinosaur. Rick, you're getting me hungry. Don't forget the human's best friend, unicorn, the corn dog. Ooh, I love corn dogs. Mmm, like the foot long corn dogs. Mmm, processed meat all in my mouth. Mmm. Anyway, the the what are some other stories? Oh, imagine the cap. Imagine there's an evil that's powerful enough to harm a unicorn. What terrible phrasing? You don't like that? You don't like? Is that wrong? It's the morning time. I like my morning meat. Mmm, nice and hot and fluid. Mmm, mmm, mm, 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 mm. Sorry, that I'm really going to get I'm really going to get demonetized for that one. Um, the sea unicorn, the commotion causing narwhal. Yeah, that's right. The narwhal is was seen as a unicorn even in today. Yeah, can't get demonetized. I don't care about that stuff, man. Long as they don't cancel my channel, I'm fine. The Leopleurodon is a genus of large carnivorous marine reptile belonging to the. I'm gonna really butcher this, but I'm gonna try it. Plesiosaur, Plesiosauridoidea, a clade of short-necked um, play plesiosaurs. The two species of Leopleurodon lived from the Cavolian stage of the Middle Jurassic to the Camaridigian stage. Guys, you just love doing that to me, don't you? Yeah, yeah, you love it. Rickard says it's Latin, it's made to be butchered. I try. Um, Cam, I think the I think the algorithm picks up more audio than visual, unless you steal something like I think the last time I got dinged was I tried to play HBO's Battle of the Bastards, and like in 13 seconds, they just boom shut it down. They kicked me offline and the whole thing. And HBO even was like, "Oh no, you're fine as long as the video's not monetized." And I was like, "Thanks, guys." And even YouTube was like, "I don't think that's right." And it took like 3 or 4 days, I think, even though HBO got back to me in like 60 seconds. It was weird. That was just a weirdness. But yeah, YouTube trying to protect its own ass. All right, so okay, rapid fire story ideas. Evil out there corrupting a unicorn, basically flipping the head of the unicorn, like the unicorn's evil, and has all the same capabilities, but it applies like blank evil, like lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil, and it's a dark wood instead of a a goodly woods with like dead trees. It's all burnt out and whatnot, and maybe evil creatures are living there. Much like like an evil unicorn in the form of like a nightmare or something. Um, because you can do this in different regions, we as human beings have looked at goats as unicorns. So the same thing could be, say, in a mountain range with like dwarves. A mountainous cliffside region could be the realm of a mountain dwelling goated or ram's horned unicorn type of thing. Rickard says chained unicorn held captive under a village to make the city prosper. Damn. Ooh. Yeah. And could you imagine that's been like a dark, that's a huge moral quandary too. What if the city of Gondor, right? I know you guys have seen the image of the map of Clichea, basically a realm of cliches. So the goodly city, the Gondor, the good city, is only good because they have this chained unicorn down held under the city, and the PCs find out about it. And of course, one PC is like, "Hell yeah, we're going to break the chain and get this thing out of here." And then, one of the other PCs is like, "Hold on, but there's hordes of evil on the outside that have been held at bay this whole time. What happens?" Yeah. No, man, I gotta bail too, man. Hey, Rickard. Hey, have a great one, everybody. You too, y'all. I hope I put you to sleep with my dulcet tones. Um, Cameron says the blue unicorn protects a ley line node and teaches magic users. Now an army wants the unicorn's secrets. Ooh, and that that would be an awesome way to like narratively have like the teleport ability, that there's like these ley lines that the unicorn like passes through, and if you can find the ley lines, you can kind of pin down where the unicorn's going to arrive at or has left from. And there's this like coalition of like wizards in these distant realms that are all like protected by the unicorn but also teaching magic. I, what a perfect place to put a wizard's tower, right? Wizards can be good. they could be lawful good or of any good alignment. And the unicorn's like, yeah, I'll protect you. Or the wizard's like, you know what? I would love to build a place here and we can teach our students. And the adventuring wizard has to leave the students somewhere. The unicorn like corralling cats. The unicorn's trying to keep the students from wandering off or something. That's awesome. I love that idea too. That's how a wizard heals, gaming wise, right? Like wizards don't have healing spells. Well, this one does, or what have you. Or like you said, maybe the unicorn is acting as a intermediary between two warring factions, or the unicorn is a is it's like a it's like a railroad. Heck, it could even be like an underground railroad. The unicorn is leading escaped slaves to another location, and no one knows how these people are like. Yeah, we keep having people leave our kingdom, and they're like, "Go hunt them down." And sorry, sir, we can't find any of them. Why? And month after month, week after week, month after month, year after year, these people keep escaping because once they escape, the unicorn finds them as they cross a ridge, and the unicorn's just waiting there for them, and the people are like, "Woo, thank you. What is? It's a unicorn!" And all of a sudden, they disappear and appear somewhere else. And they're like, "Thank you so much." Little baby like petting the unicorn on its nose or something before they leave, and maybe the unicorn is just doing good things without doing good things with no words spoken, right? Or what have you. Oh yeah, Deadman says a unicorn benefactor warlock has a healing spell instead of an attack. Hell yeah. I I think a unicorn benefactor as a warlock patron makes perfect sense. I think it makes perfect sense. Heck, you could even be. Could you imagine being a tiefling evil character who is saved somehow, and so now its benefactor is a unicorn, and so every time the evil character gets ready to do something evil, it's like, I better not. No, he's not going to like that. Or maybe the evil character did something evil, and like the unicorn just looks at him in the eye, like, I'm sorry, I'll give the gold back. I'm so sorry. But he deserved it. He deserved an ass beating. And the unicorn's like pushes him, rams him in the butt, like, all right, I'm sorry, okay. You know? And yeah, I would absolutely, if somebody wanted to make a unicorn warlock and just change like one ability out for something else, hell yeah. Um, hey, my Eldritch Blast is radiant damage or something, although that might be spell breaking, But yeah, I would change stuff around. Like, hey, can I change this thing to another thing? Hell's yes. Hell's yes. Um, anyway, guys, I've gone past the hour mark as I normally do. But I will. I thank all of you out there. By the way, for those who do not know, I am a writer for Critical Hit Publishing and a soon-to-be writer, a a contributing writer to EN World, which is actually kind of cool. And what else am I? I'm also a bit of an idiot sometimes. So we do go live Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Live, open discussion. Please check us out at Critical Hit Publishing. Join our Facebook group. Find us over, search for Critical Hit Publishing on Drive Through RPG. If you are a individual who is into Call of Cthulhu, look up the Miskatonic University on Drive Through RPG. We even have products over there as well. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me here. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. See you later. See you tomorrow. Bye. World Building Wednesday. And promo, take us out now.